Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me for another Alfred Hitchcock Presents review. Today I will be talking about Season 2, Episode 30, The Three Dreams of Mr. Findlater, starring John Williams as Ernest Findlater and Barbara Baxley as Lalage. And this is just an average episode, in my opinion. This is one of those change of pace episodes. This is pretty much an episode that goes for comedy pretty much all the way through. And in my opinion, some of the comedy works and some of it doesn't. But overall, this is a passable way to spend 25 minutes or so, in my opinion. So, our plot starts out with our main character, Ernest, and his wife, Minnie. And you can tell that Ernest is very annoyed with this woman. It doesn't seem like they have many mutual interests at this point. And Minnie is just very annoying to Ernest. We also find out that Ernest goes up to this room where he has a lot of posters. It looks like this guy's into having a lot of fantasies. There's one in particular that catches our attention as the audience. And there's a girl in this poster, Lalage. And it turns out that Ernest likes to talk to this poster, which is kind of interesting, kind of a bizarre scene. So he goes into this fantasy in the South Sea, I think it is. So next we get to see the fantasy sequence with Ernest and Lalage talking. They talk about his wife, and he tells Lalage that he has another dream, which would be his second one, I suppose, where he imagines that his wife passed away. But like I said, this is done mostly for humor, and it kind of works, I guess. It's kind of strange. So anyway, this dream eventually ultimately is interrupted by Ernest's wife. So later, Ernest goes to the park, and Lalage is there, or at least he's creating an image of her there. And at this point, he conveniently finds a car, and he finds a gun in the car. And normally these would be plot contrivances, but because this is all a fantasy on Ernest's part, I thought it worked fine. I had no problem with it. So of course, Ernest is now planning. He has a plan in his head, and I think we all know what this is. He wants to do in his wife. So next, Ernest sees Lalage again in the men's room, which is pretty bizarre. Once again, he talks about eliminating his wife, and somehow he winds up getting locked in the men's room. I'm not really sure how this happens, but it was amusing enough. And he continues to form more of a plan. When he sees a window there, he comes up with this way where he's going to use a rope and climb through the window as part of his alibi. It's pretty strange, but whatever. Like I said, it's kind of a fantasy. So at this point, Ernest and Minnie have another talk about Minnie. Ernest brings up a will. It turns out that he wants to make sure nothing is left to him so that when he does her in, he will not be suspected. Kind of a clever and interesting way to look at things, I guess. So Ernest and Lalage just keep on plotting. He keeps seeing her. He says he'll need some kind of costume just in case someone would see him. And I do have to say that the costumes that he tries on are so ridiculous that I genuinely did laugh. A lot of the humor in this episode's hit and miss, but this is one thing I did think was really funny. Then he does some push-ups to get himself in better shape so he can use the rope to climb through the window. None of this really ultimately matters, but if you just go with it, it's fine, I guess. So Ernest has one last talk with Minnie, talks about them going on a trip together, and you can tell that they don't have the same ideas in mind. He would like to go places that she's not really interested in. So when this final attempt at reaching out to her doesn't really work, Ernest figures he's going to have to go through with this plan. But with everything ready to go, he finds out that his wife really does pass away from some type of natural causes. So not really much of a great or clever twist either to this episode, but like I said, it's just a light episode, and it's just kind of there. I didn't really love or dislike this episode that much. I think opinions will vary on this one, how much your tolerance is for the humor in this episode. But for me, it was just average, and I'm going to give The Three Dreams of Mr. Findlater a 2.5 out of 5. So like I said, just an average episode. If you want to see Alfred Hitchcock Presents and one of the show's attempts at comedy, you can watch this episode. If not, you can skip it too. It's not essential in my opinion. So 2.5 out of 5 for The Three Dreams of Mr. Findlater. And as always, thank you very much for watching.